Today I'm going to do another head-to-head prospect review. In the past, I've done Jalen Carter versus Will Anderson in the same video, Bryce Young versus CJ Stroud. I encourage you to check those out if you have not. But today, I'm looking at the two top running backs in this class, Jahmyr Gibbs and Bijan Robinson, breaking down their strengths, weaknesses, going to throw out a name that I would compare them to and where I would take them in the draft. So that's the concept of today's video. And let's get started, starting with the Alabama guy, Jahmyr Gibbs. I think the thing that stands out the most to me, and basically to everybody when they watch Jahmyr Gibbs, is his speed. He can go 0 to 60 in no time at all. I think this play is a good example. Catches a little outlet pass with some blockers out in front of him. He has to make a guy miss, takes his feet away, and while he's kind of bending and leaning, he's still able to pick up a bunch of speed and scoot down the sideline for an explosive play here. I mean, you could just see the burst, acceleration. I mean, people talk about second gears, and with Jahmyr Gibbs, that second gear is very visible when he hits it. Right there. You can see it. Okay, don't have to go that fast to make the first guy miss. The second guy has the angle on me. There it is. Gibbs can turn any touch into a touchdown. We got some pin pull action here, it looks like, with this tight end being the pin man, blocking down on this end man on the line of scrimmage with the two uncovered guards pulling. Gibbs does a good job not overrunning this play, sticking right behind this pulling guard here, pressing this outside gap, getting 13 to overcommit. And then once that happens, once 13 really flips his hips and commits that way, then Gibbs plants that foot in the ground, is able to get upfield really quickly, split the whole defense, touchdown. Very, very enticing when you've got someone with that kind of home run speed, who also, in my opinion, has pretty good instincts and efficient footwork. He's someone who has the balance to, when he's trying to make a guy miss in the open field, show him a foot right there, plant right by him. That's going to be this guy's aiming point. Like, I'm going to wrap up this guy's leg and roll. Gibbs shows him that foot, and then he's able to kind of take it away right there, and all of a sudden that defensive back has nothing to grab onto, and Gibbs has just kind of Euro stepped right by him. He's able to press upfield, pick up a couple more yards. I've seen Gibbs get a bunch of Alvin Kamara comps, and I guess that's because he's a receiving back with dreadlocks. He has okay contact balance. I've seen him bounce off some tackles, shed some tackles, but it's nowhere near where Kamara is. Kamara would just casually bounce off everybody like he was wearing a suit of armor. And that's a trait that I need to see at an extremely high level to get a Kamara comp. Gibbs is okay contact balance, but he's not great in my opinion. There's lots to like about this play. I think Gibbs reads this out pretty well, this outside zone. Obviously with outside zone, you're reading it from outside in, and he doesn't really have the edge here, so he's got to take one of these inside gaps. He still presses outside as far as he possibly can. When he eventually does cut this back, there's really no meat on the bone. If he cut back any farther outside than he did, he would have run into this mess. So does a pretty good job pressing outside. And then, okay, here we go. I'm cutting back inside, decelerating quickly. And now what has he done? He set it up so the backside linebacker has crossed his face. There's this lane here to run through. So I like the instincts and the vision here. But eventually he's one-on-one with this safety. And there are a couple running backs from the last couple years where if they've got a head of steam flying downhill and then a wiry safety type just kind of throws a shoulder at their thighs, this safety type is getting thrown out of the club, bouncing right off of them. And then the guy is going still. But that's a hit that can down Gibbs. I don't think he has like really special contact balance or anything like that. He doesn't have the greatest contact balance, and the other weakness in his game is I think he could stand to take it between the tackles a bit more than he does. Like on this play, for example, what an effort from the left guard, or right guard, I guess. He's left on the screen now. The right guard to reach and seal this defensive tackle. And that creates this crease right in the design of the running play, just like how it's drawn up to run through. And this is something where, you know, you take a cut here, bounce here, and then try to take off this way. That's probably what he should do here. But instead, even though there was this great seal and big lane to cut through here, he's like, I'm still taking this outside. And it works decently well. Like, this is still a fine gain. But when the play works as designed, you'd kind of like him to just take it as it's designed. That's what NFL coaching staffs will want. Like, yo, you can get more yards quicker just going straight ahead than you can trying to round some corner. So when you can go straight ahead, go straight ahead. And I think the numbers back this up. Let's take a look at Gibbs versus Robinson on runs inside the tackles, all right? Robinson does it way more, 109 times this season versus 39. Robinson uses the designed gap almost half the time. Gibbs is closer to a quarter of the time. And the numbers are pretty stark. Gibbs is getting stuffed at the line like 3 times as much as Robinson is. He's getting hit at the line like 50% of the time, picking up a first down less than half of the amount of the time. So I do worry about Gibbs as being an every down between the tackles runner. I'm sure Gibbs will be a fantastic receiving back. He's so good in the open space. Quarterbacks should be excited to check it down to him, which is something that's kind of rare. A lot of them don't want to do that. But with Gibbs, it makes it a whole lot easier because he could do stuff like this. But in his entire college career, he's only carried the ball over 20 times twice, both at Alabama versus Tennessee and versus Texas A&M. And that includes his time at Georgia Tech. And he was a 5-star recruit. He was the best player on the team. And yet still, they gave him the ball 20 times once and never anything over that. And I get that Georgia Tech was pretty bad and they were losing pretty bad a lot of the time. So obviously you're not going to run it a whole lot in those games. But for it to never happen, for him to never get the ball more than 20 times, even in games where they're winning big, it's 9 carries, it's 13 carries, it's 14 carries. So I just don't think he has the body type to hold up as a workhorse back in the NFL. And clearly, I think clearly his coaches felt the same way at the college level. He's kind of built like a wide receiver at 5'11 and bordering on 200 pounds. Like, he's a pretty wiry running back who has never really been asked to pound it between the tackles and be a bell cow. And I just don't think NFL teams will see that and be like, oh yeah, at the next level when everyone's bigger, stronger, faster, hits harder, we are going to take him and run him between the tackles way more than he did at Alabama. I think that he's probably more in line for the Eckler type of role. Like, Austin Eckler gets a lot of opportunities to catch passes, but his career high, most rushing attempts in a single game, is 19. He's never had a 20 carry game in his life, which is surprising considering how many touchdowns he gets and his fantasy production and all that. And for all you fantasy dynasty nerds watching this video, you may say, like, Austin Eckler, that's great. I'm going to take him first overall. But I think it's kind of weird that Austin Eckler is still the only running back that the Chargers have. I honestly think they should have someone that can tote the rock between the tackles a little bit better than Eckler can. And what would concern me from a fantasy perspective about Gibbs is they bring in someone like Jamal Williams, who will totally take the ball between the tackles a million times, will always trust the structure of the play, and they feel like they can give him maybe the lion's share of the touches, and then Gibbs is kind of that electric change of pace back, similar to Swift and Williams in Detroit. So overall, I like Gibbs. I think he's super talented and explosive, fun to watch, but can I project him to be a bell cow for my football team? Probably not. And how high am I taking a running back, which I think is definitely the least valuable position if he can't really carry the offense and is more of a change of pace guy? I'm probably thinking like early round 3, late round 2 for him. I like him. I just don't think that he's going to be like the most crucial piece to a Super Bowl team. Like, being Austin Eckler is perfectly fine. Like, that's a great player. But when the Chargers needed to salt the game away at the end of that Jaguars game, they had, -3 rushing yards. They couldn't really lean on him to salt the game away, which is really what was needed. And that's what I would look for in a running back. Like, give me someone who can play all 3 downs and I can really rely on to salt the game away and be balanced in the playoffs. And I just don't think Gibbs is that type of lead back. He's nice, but you need someone else there too. You need another piece there too, in my opinion. I'll give him a 6.1 grade. That's a 3rd round grade. I think he'd be a slam dunk pick in the 3rd round, but still a 3rd round grade. Overall, I think he's like garnish. He is the last piece that you add if you are rich with talent everywhere else on the offense. Like a team like Philadelphia, I could definitely see taking Gibbs on day 2. Like that would be fine because they're so good everywhere else. Like let's add a dynamic running back. But if you are a bad team who needs multiple things across the offense, Gibbs should probably not be your number 1 target. You should probably fill out the roster with more solid, every down type of players. And Gibbs is kind of that final touch, that electric fun toy. It's like buying a jet ski when you're already rich. That's how I view Gibbs. So that's my take on Gibbs. Now let's talk about Bijan Robinson, the consensus RB1 in this class. He is 220 pounds, 6 feet tall, so that's more the size that I'm looking for. And like I already showed you, very effective running between the tackles and did a whole lot of it. So already I project him as a better workhorse every down back than Gibbs. And what's really special about him, like Gibbs has good footwork. Bijan is different. His footwork is amazing. It is really special, super aesthetically pleasing to watch. I love watching Bijan Robinson because of plays like this. So he's trying to take this outside. We got outside zone again. The edge gets set. He has to cut back inside. And here you see him decelerate, really sit down in the chair, change direction. He hops over the back foot of this tackle. He doesn't get tripped up. Hops over that. Then he splits his legs, cuts off that outside foot, runs away from this diving defender. But he only takes about 1 step to run away from that guy. He does just enough to avoid his tackle, and he's already on to the next guy. He hits him with the dead leg, comes to the dead stop with that front foot. That back foot is just kind of dragging, and then sets down about halfway through a full stride. He gets skinny and is able to just sidestep a little bit upfield, and he is kind of in open space. He gets tackled. But he's able to fall forward and make this a nice gain, 100% because of his elite footwork. There's just no wasted movement with him. There's no meat left on the bone on a Bijan Robinson run. Like, it is just what is necessary. Like, Siaki Ika, I love him, deconstructs the block from the center. He's in the backfield, and Robinson is just going to sidestep him. Just a quick little step right there. Ika is still in range of him, but he knows that he's not making that tackle, and now he is driving off that back foot and moving up into this little pocket of space right here. So he avoids Ika. Now he's in this very condensed area here, and immediately after hopping over the legs of this tackle to avoid getting tripped up, he's already stringing together his next cut, driving off that outside foot, going inside, running through the arm tackle. That's over. On to the next thing. Here's the safety, spin move, and then a really nice run after getting met in the backfield by a round 1 talent. A round 1 talent, and he's still doing stuff like this. It's just so smooth all the time. Poor Ika must have been getting so frustrated because he would just win his blocks instantly, and then Bijan would just make him look stupid. Here he is, making that jump cut, really pressing to the outside, setting up number 4. You see 4 leaning his body weight that way, and that's all Robinson needs. He cuts upfield, and again is able to turn this into a very nice play. Baylor game is great, and in every single game, he just shows an innate ability to set guys up and then make them miss. He has great instincts, reacts to stimuli very quickly, and once he makes one guy miss, he gets his eyes to the second guy and strings things together, like I've mentioned, in a way that is pretty special. There's a lot to like with him as a runner. He kind of reminds me a little bit of Dalvin Cook in his running style. I always think of Dalvin Cook as one of the footwork gods when he was really in his prime, killing the league. Obviously, Dalvin Cook had a fantastic career and was one of the great running backs in the league for a while there. I don't think he's quite that anymore, but at any rate, I do like Robinson, but he does have a weakness, a pretty clear weakness in my mind, and that's the home run speed. And he does not have nearly the same type of acceleration to win around the corner that Gibbs does. That is for sure. I'm thinking about someone from last year's class on this play, Kenneth Walker, and how many times he would bounce something outside and then win around the edge just because he's faster than everyone. Bijan is substantially slower than someone like Walker, in my opinion. With some running backs, when they're in the open field, the fun is really getting started. But with Bijan, the fun has probably already happened. Like on this play, amazing footwork once again in the backfield. Nice cuts, efficient cuts. Is able to get free and threaten around the edge here. But is he actually going to beat number one's angle? No, a pretty comfortable no, right? And people have asked me like, Bijan Robinson or Saquon? Bijan Robinson or Zeke? Saquon easily the better prospect in my mind because he could do all the same stuff with the cuts and stuff and the efficiency and the footwork and making guys miss in close quarters. And then he had the home run speed to score after doing all that, which I don't think Robinson has to nearly the same level. Saquon was different, right? We're not going to see a Saquon for, I think, a while. And I almost wonder if he is going to work out at the combine or at his pro days and once again kind of follow a Dalvin Cook type arc. Dalvin Cook was a lock at the end of the first round. He was so good at Florida State, and then he ran at the combine and he wasn't a very good athlete. Like the shuttle agility grades were really bad, wasn't very explosive. And I almost wonder, like, I don't think the testing numbers will be the exact same for Bijan Robinson, but I almost wonder if he'll test and run like a low 4.5 or something like that, and everyone will be like, whoa. But it's already on film to me. But that's another Dalvin Cook parallel I could maybe see happening. I do think that lack of explosiveness prevents him from being an elite running back prospect, but I do think that he's still going to be pretty solid. I mean, like I said, footwork really nice, instincts really nice. He's a good pass catcher and blocker out of the backfield, definitely a lot better than I think Gibbs and Walker and even Hall from last year. The world where Bijan Robinson is a bad pro is a world where he ends up dancing behind the line of scrimmage too much, trying to set up blockers downfield, and just isn't explosive enough to play that way and just gets tackled and wastes his time. But I don't think that will happen. I think his intangibles are a bit too good. Overall, I think that Bijan Robinson is solid. I really like watching him. I think he's super aesthetically pleasing, like I said. But don't put me in the camp of people who think that he is like, oh my gosh, a Saquon level prospect in the conversation for best overall player in the class, should be a round one pick, even though he's a running back. Absolutely. I liked Walker and Breece Hall better from last year. I loved those two. They went early second. Bijan, like second round pick. I'd be on board with that, but not quite a first round running back in my book. Overall, I'll give him a 6.3. That is slightly higher than Gibbs. That's a second round grade. I could maybe see taking him in the first if everyone you like is gone and he's there, like sure. But to me, the second day is really where he becomes good value. So that's my grade and my thoughts on Robinson and Gibbs. That's all I've got to say. That'll do it for this video. Again, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll be back next week with another probably prospect review. So talk to you then.